Welcome to a new edition of our show titled Speak of Africa. We are very, very happy to bring you a whole lot of news. We're going to start the show with headline news. After that, we're going to focus on a big story. And this story is the African Continental Free Trade Area. So, we're going to begin our show today by looking at Nigeria. Nigeria is the big daddy of Africa. Recently, we were really surprised to come across the research of Amnesty International. Amnesty International is a very big organization. It really supports individuals who are being marginalized or in trouble. So, Amnesty International has conducted some research, and they found out that Shell and ENI, which are two oil companies operating in Nigeria, these are two big multinationals. They found out that these companies are really committing crimes against the people of Nigeria. Interestingly, they found out that there are over 89 oil spills, and these oil spills are really hurting the environment. The people are not really benefiting from the oil, especially the people of the Niger Delta. Yet, every day they have to handle the problems that come with exploiting oil from their area. Shell was trying to shy away from the accusation by saying that the people were really to be blamed for the spills. The companies did not really have anything to do with it. That's really a lie. It's interesting that the Nigerian government is not even making serious effort to really make these two big companies accountable to the people. This is not new. Oil and the Niger Delta, these are two combinations that don't really mix well, and they've not mixed well for a very long time. We remember the time of Sani Abacha. Sarawiwa, an activist, was killed because he was really protesting against some of these companies using oil spills and damaging and degrading the environment. We thought today, with the ascendancy of President Buhari, things will change. Nothing has really changed. These companies are still operating like outlaws. They do whatever they want, and the government is not holding them accountable. So we want the Nigerian government of President Buhari to hold Shell and ENI accountable. There's enough research to show that these companies are really hurting the people of the Niger Delta. So if this can be done, it will really help make the people live peaceful lives. Interestingly, most of these companies, especially like Shell and ENI, are not really paying the people the money that they are supposed to pay them for using their land. If you look at some of the pictures we are sharing with you today, you will notice that a lot of the rivers are all polluted. The people cannot really enjoy any good drinking water. All the fishes are dying. The environment is degraded. So when is the Nigerian government going to think that it is time to start handling this problem? Multinational corporations should not be allowed to operate like outlaws. The truth is, in their home countries, these companies cannot really operate with impunity. The people make them accountable. The people hold them to account, because if they do something wrong, they make them pay for it. Look at like Exxon Valdez. Exxon was held accountable. So why is it that in Africa these companies can operate the way they want? It's because our leaders are not really strong enough. Our leaders receive bribes and allow these companies to operate the way they see fit. All what they do is profit. So our leaders are really sleeping or dancing with the devil. So because they are dancing with the devil, the people now have to bear the brunt of all these crimes. Next, we move to Boko Haram. It was revealed that the Dapchi girls have been released by Boko Haram. Unfortunately, 4 of the girls died. So why was it that nothing was done to really rescue these girls? I remember when President Buhari was running for office, he was challenging President Goodluck Jonathan. The Nigerian people were thinking that President Buhari would handle the security issue better in the country. So far, we think it is really shameful that President Buhari has failed to really handle the Boko Haram menace. He's not really showing that as a general, he could really do something different from what President Goodluck Jonathan was doing. So, as Boko Haram was releasing these girls, Boko Haram was also issuing a warning, telling the parents to keep their girls away from schools. If they don't stay away from schools, Boko Haram is going to return and take them back. So, the parents seem to be heeding this warning. And we think it's a shame that the law cannot really protect young girls who really want to go to school and acquire some education. In a new world, we want our girls to be educated. Western education is good. So we disagree with the Boko Haram version by saying that Boko Haram, Western education is good. It just depends on the way you use it. Boko Haram is using Western tools of destruction. So why are they not saying that these tools are bad? When it sees fit, they use Western tools. So it's just like picking and choosing. Why are they choosing weapons of mass destruction that come from the West? Why are they using them? They should say, okay, no, Western education is bad, so we don't even want to use Western weapons. But today, Western weapons are used by Boko Haram to create mayhem in Nigeria. So we need to start holding these people accountable, okay? Next, we're going to move to Libya. Libya has been the subject of our show so far. Since the downfall of Gaddafi, Libya has not had peace. We predicted that Gaddafi is a major figure. Gaddafi is not a saint, so we cannot tell anybody that Gaddafi is a saint. What we're saying is, after the downfall of Gaddafi, it really created a big power vacuum in Libya. Recently, we saw pictures of Saif al-Islam, the son of Muammar Gaddafi. He started talking in the press again by saying that he wants to run in the next election. And he also added some comments to the French investigation of former President Nicolas Sarkozy. If you remember, Nicolas Sarkozy was really dancing with the dictator Muammar Gaddafi. In 2007, Muammar Gaddafi was really instrumental to the rise of Nicolas Sarkozy as the president of France. In fact, a French tradition which they call La République des Mallettes. Whenever a French president is running for office, he needs money from his colonies to finance his campaign. Even though the laws in France prohibit such practices, but the leaders in France look for clever ways to get African dictators to come to them with briefcases of money, which they use to fund their campaigns. This is what happened in the case of Libya. Libya financed the campaign of Nicolas Sarkozy in 2007. When this happened, Sarkozy became victorious. Unfortunately, the relationship between Gaddafi and Sarkozy soured, and the Libyans were not prepared to buy arms from France anymore. So this created tension between the Sarkozy government and Muammar Gaddafi. Eventually, as a vendetta, Sarkozy pursued Gaddafi to his death. In fact, if you remember, the plane that killed Gaddafi was a French plane. So today, Sarkozy is being investigated by the French system of justice. For so long, Sarkozy has been arguing that he is not at fault, he didn't commit any crime. But we are realizing now that the law now is asking him to come forward to give credence to his assertion that he's innocent. Even Sarkozy's assistants are also in trouble. One of them even escaped to Britain and he was extradited to France to face criminal charges. So we are really happy that the law is following its due course in France and Nicolas Sarkozy is in trouble. So we think for killing Gaddafi, he's really being paid by the ancestors of Africa. So he's now in trouble. Next, we're going to move to Equatorial Guinea. There has been a failed coup d'etat in Equatorial Guinea. Apparently, the Paul Biya government alerted the Obiang family that some people were preparing a coup against him, and those people were leaving Cameroon to get into Equatorial Guinea. So they were arrested, and since then, the people in Equatorial Guinea who really run the government are always looking for scapegoats. Recently, President Obiang Gema was really accusing the French of staging the coup against him. But the French are really saying that what really happened was they were just pursuing the son of President Obiang Gema, Theodore Derin, because he lives the life of a playboy, fanciful cars, nice girls, nice hotels, nice cars. So they were really trying to shed light on the fact that the Obiang Gemas were really using money which is ill-gotten wealth from the Equatorial Guinea. So that was it. So if you look at videos on YouTube, you will see the lifestyle of the son of Obiang Gema, who is supposedly his vice president, his successor. He lavishes the money of the country, and when you watch videos on YouTube of this young man, you will really be amazed. He is so rich, he squanders the money, and there's a whole personality cult around him. So it really shows you what happens to banana republics in Africa. Next, we're going to move now to the wasteland of the Sahel. I call it a wasteland because the French have turned this part of the country, Niger and Mali, into a wasteland. This is where they always test their nuclear weapons. They get the uranium from these places. So now, a company like Arriva, which is a French company, really monopolizes life in this part of the world. The people are fighting back. They're no longer happy that they cannot really benefit from their own resources. The French are really enjoying while they are living in misery. So this has to change. Similarly, in Congo DRC, we're also going to show you another land which has become a wasteland. A place that used to be the Garden of Eden has been turned into a wasteland because of the greed of Africans who are conniving with foreigners to make their people stay in poverty perpetually. When you look at a guy like Joseph Kabila, he spends so much time meeting with officials of Union Minière, but he doesn't have time to deal with the problems of the people who are really dying every day because of his refusal to step down from power. Next, we move to Cameroon. Cameroon is a country we've been discussing almost every week. Today, we want to let you know that a revolt that started peacefully has turned now into kidnapping. The people who are fighting the government of President Paul Biya were acting in self-defense. Today, the self-defense has changed into the tactic of kidnapping of people. They have been kidnapping people in the Paul Biya government. This week, the kidnapping changed into the kidnapping of foreigners. Sorobat, a company of Tunisian extraction which handles road construction in Cameroon, experienced much sadness when some of its employees were kidnapped by freedom fighters from the Ambazonia area. So after the Cameroon government tried to intervene to rescue these hostages, I think one of the employees died in the process. And we have a lot of videos which we're going to share with you so you can see. We think that it would have been a better idea for the government to negotiate with these people so that we can avoid all this bloodshed. Now, innocent foreigners are dying because of the recalcitrance of a leader such as Paul Biya. So we are really asking the international community to do something about this problem. If you guys keep turning a blind eye, more and more people will keep dying because it looks like the dictator in Cameroon does not want to listen to the voice of reason. We want peace to return to Cameroon. Please remember, Cameroons are not going to be the only victims. Soon, more foreigners will be dying in Cameroon. And I gather probably that's when the international community will see it fit to get into action and solve the problem in Cameroon. Next, We're going to leave Cameroon. We're going to move now to a subject that is dear to our heart. Why is Africa where it is today? We started this show because we wanted to deal with African problems. When we deal with African problems, we want to tell you why is Africa having the kind of problems it's having. And at the same time, we want to show you how Africa can solve these problems. An initiative took place on Wednesday, which is called the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. It was a meeting of African Union members in Kigali, Rwanda. President Paul Kagame is the new leader of the African Union. So he hosted a meeting which was supposed to uplift Africa into a new era of free trade. One of the reasons Africa is having a lot of problems is because there is very limited trade, intra-trade, regional trade. Interestingly, a country like Cameroon would be doing 50 to 60% of its trade with China. But Nigeria, which is its neighbor, does not do up to 15% of trade with Cameroon. So this has to change. And this is the reason why this new trade zone is being heralded as a move in the right direction. When you look at other places in the world, look at Europe. There is the Euro. There is the European Community. The European Community came about when Europeans realized that the world is a jungle. You cannot survive alone. No man is an island. We have to put forces together. We have to unite with our brothers to fight the war of survival. This is what the Europeans have done. They teamed up and created the Eurozone to make it easy for goods and services to flow freely. When goods and services flow freely without the handicap of barriers, then there is employment. Youth can have jobs. People can move from one area to another. Africans can move from, say, Cairo to Cape Town. So this will make it easy for the economic activities to boom. But right now, goods cannot leave Freetown and get to Yaoundé without a whole lot of checks and bureaucracy. With this new free trade, this is going to change things. So we are really heralding this signature achievement for our people. It's going to lift a lot of boats in Africa. We're going to take off. It is true, even as I watch some of the pictures coming from the meeting, Cyril Ramaphosa, the new president of South Africa, was already looking at ways in which this new trade agreement can be taken further into an African Union, an African Economic Union with an African currency. People are already talking. The Europeans have the euro. What about we Africans if we can have our Afro as a currency? So this is what many Africans are beginning to speculate and think about. So it is happening today, and you can see the whole fanfare in the event in Kigali, Rwanda. The place is so jam-packed. The streets are just filled with people and cars. There's so much excitement in the air. We really salute President Paul Kagame. This is a great achievement. You cannot really have such a good law in the books without good leadership. We salute his leadership for making it possible for us to have this African Continental Free Trade Agreement. It is true that some big powers, for example, Nigeria, have not yet signed on to this treaty. We're really surprised because the Nigerian government has always been a part of this movement. The Nigerian government has always been part of African liberation. So we're really surprised when the Buhari government decided to back off and not attend this meeting in Kigali. Ostensibly, he said he wanted to have more time to consult with different constituencies before Nigeria will sign the agreement. Okay, it's a good thing to give him some time so that he can reflect. But we think some of the uneasiness that they have should not really be there. This is what has made Africa to be backward for a long time. If most of these countries continue worrying about sovereignty, it will be very, very difficult for us to have free trade. Then the other issue which we hear the Buhari government is worried about is dumping. Economic dumping is a practice in which finished goods leave one area of the continent, then they are dumped into another area. So this creates a problem. So in economics, we call this dumping. So we don't think Nigeria should be worrying about issues with dumping, because the mechanism of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement area has provisions for issues like dumping so that they can be resolved peacefully. Next, the other issue which we think has been on the forefront, especially for most Nigerians, is some of the labor unions are worried about what may happen to their members. Maybe they may lose jobs. We don't think so. Whenever there's a free flow of resources, it helps everybody. They said it will lift all boats. So we think that instead of being in despair, we should be optimistic. We should have hope. With hope, we think this new agreement is going to take Africa into the new horizons. And we wish that this can really happen, because Africa really needs trade, intra-trade, regional trade. If African nations start trading more and more with each other, it's going to be good. Because right now, as we say, less than 16% of African trade consists of intra-trade. Yet, most African countries are trading with countries like China, while their own brothers are beside, they don't trade with them. So some of these issues that we call a colonial legacy can really be handled well. If you remember, after the Berlin Conference, there was a scramble for Africa. Africa was partitioned into small countries. But the truth is, African countries will never survive. The 55 nation state will never survive if we do not start working together as a union. So if we start working as a union, it's going to help us a whole lot. But if we don't do this, it's going to be hurting Africa a whole lot. So we need border bureaucracies to be abolished. We need tariffs to be removed. We need quotas to be gone. And we need to start looking at customs. Custom duty. This is another area that is like a bottleneck in trade. If we can really work harmoniously to remove most of these barriers to trade, Africa is going to flourish. There's going to be more trade in Africa. And at the same time, we're going to be able to have better communication. Better communication means goods and resources can flow easily from one region to another, from the north to the south, from the east to the west. That's what our dream is. And we think this new agreement should be saluted as a job well done. If this happens in the next few months, we think we are heralding Africa into a new age of prosperity. No longer will our children be running away to greener pastures. No longer will our children be stranded in places like Libya, where they are taken into slavery, because they will be happy with life in their homes. Look at what is happening in the European Union. It has boosted trade in that part of the world. So we are looking at the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement as something similar to the European Union. It's a move in the right direction, even though we don't have a currency right now, but that should be on the minds of the people. I'm very, very happy because President Cyril Ramaphosa has already started thinking about this issue, the need for a universal currency in Africa to make it easy for the various nations to have a medium of exchange. So when we have a currency, it means we have a medium of exchange. In addition to the currency being a medium of exchange, it can also be a standard for deferred value. If we have value and we want to keep it, we want to safeguard it, it is easier to safeguard it if we have our own currency. If we don't have our own currency, it means that we'll be using the currency of a foreign power, the way it is happening now in the CFA zone in Africa. You have so many countries in Africa which were colonized by France. Up to today, they continue using the French franc. France itself doesn't use the franc anymore. Yet, you find places like Cameroon, Gabon, Central African Republic, they are still using the franc, a currency that the French have rejected in favor of the euro. Yet, we are still using that currency. And when we do this, who is benefiting? France, of course. France benefits because they are the guys who really are the paymaster. They organize everything, and we are the servants, the vassals. So we need to end this master-slave relationship with France. Most of the countries in Africa, which used to be French colonies, need to stand on their own. They need to stand on their own and do things for themselves. If we can do this, then it will be a move in the right direction. So we're encouraging the young people of today. Start talking when you're on the internet, when you're on social media. Start sharing ideas. Share ideas about this show. We want people to know that there is a revolution taking place in Africa. Do not wait for somebody else to create the change you seek. You are the change agent. And I'm challenging you, looking at you. Please, change Africa. You are important. Do not feel like you are a small guy. You are big. You are big. God has given you a lot of power. So use this power to begin to change Africa. Team up with your friends. Start talking about the issues we address in this show. The issues of Africa's economic prosperity. You see that if Africa starts tackling some of these tough issues, it will be easy for all of us to move back to the continent and contribute. Look at what is happening in Israel. The Jews are really working together. It's true, we cannot think alike. Well, let us disagree. It's okay to disagree, but we have to still learn to put our efforts together and do something to help the continent. If we can do this, it's going to be good for us, okay? So people like Kwame Nkrumah, their dream would really come true. Because if you remember, Kwame Nkrumah and his friends created the OAU because they wanted to fulfill two main ambitions. The first ambition was the decolonization of Africa. The second goal was the integration of Africa. So if we can start talking about these issues, they may kill our leaders like Gaddafi, but let us know that if all of us join and start thinking about this, are they going to kill all of us? No. So let's not be afraid. The new generation, I'm challenging you to start working towards the freedom of Africa. Africa needs to be free. Africa is poor because she's not free. If we can work to make Africa free, then Africa would now have the opportunity to harness all its resources. Thank you very much, and I thank you again with all your friends for watching this video, and I'm asking you to go to my YouTube channel and share this video with your friends. Go to Facebook, come to my Facebook page, and share your ideas with me. I really want us to communicate. So if you have any ideas, feel free to contact me. Feel free to criticize me. Feel free to criticize us. We love people who criticize us, okay? Without criticism, we cannot do better. So I urge you to criticize us every day, and God bless you.
So I can get my taxes done. You know I'm trying to buy a new house. What's up?
Let's get it on. If you're searching for a house, call up my man Prince Ojong, the best in real estate. Take it from your guy Shake. When I say his services are the best in the states, word is born. He even take care of your tax forms, fat refunds. So come, get your business done. Consultations, financial organization, fast processing, no waiting. This man is amazing. The Prince.